Hi everyone, my name is Brad and I vlog under the name Investing Doc.
Today's post, I'd like to talk about the 10 things I've learned while running my own practice.
So in the 10 lessons that I've learned since I opened up my practice, the first lesson I'd like to talk about is that you just have to do it. I spent so much time when I started my practice worrying about, oh my gosh, what does the website look like? Does it look professional enough? Does our phone system, does that look professional enough? Does our logo look professional enough? And then not only that, but before I started up, I created this Excel spreadsheet and I kind of spreadsheeted myself to death where I would change these numbers, say, okay, if we saw half as many people as I thought in the first 6 months, then what would my profit or loss be? Okay, if we didn't take in as much money per visit, how much would my profit and loss be? I spent so much time worrying about what it was going to be like when I started up that I totally just took myself down these rabbit holes of not realizing that the math all looks like it's going to work out and I should just open my doors. Here's a little fun fact. When I first opened my business, I didn't even have my name on the building or our door. There was another doctor's name on that door that patients would come through. They would just see the suite number come in and say, oh, is this Dr. So-and-so's office? And the front staff would be like, yep, you got it. I did that for about a year before finally some patient was like, hey, why isn't your name on the building or on the door? I guess I didn't think too much of it at the time, but I was being so lean that patients were finding me without even a logo or name on the door. So in retrospect, that was really stupid. But at the same time, kind of funny looking back that, hey, I worried about the minutia of how much money am I going to make per visit for weeks, months at a time. And I worried about what did my logo look like, but I never even put that logo on my door, at least for the first year. So my advice to you, the biggest advice would be, just do it. Don't waste any time. Figure out the numbers. Make sure it makes sense. Make sure you're not doing something ridiculous. Try to save up as much cash as you can and just do whatever you're trying to do. All right. The next thing I'd like to talk about is Pennywise, pound foolish. I had an EMR, an electronic medical record, when I first started out, and I got the cheapest one on the market. And it worked out okay at the start, but I'll tell you a little bit more about why that ended up costing me a lot of money. In terms of the money factor, I went with the cheapest practice management solution. That one was about $40 a month cheaper than the next one up. And even though the next one up had much better reviews, I decided to save $40 a month. Well, I think you know where this is going. Basically, that $40 a month, our current one, which is Cario with a K, they've been good to us. I'm not necessarily trying to throw them under the rug here, but at the same time, we have had so many issues with linking up of claims to the clearinghouse and that we've had to call them. My biller has spent dozens of hours figuring this all out. Now, I'm not saying this for sure would not have happened switching to the slightly more expensive one, but they don't really have a lot of reviews with this being a problem, the new one that is. So I think if I would have spent more money in the beginning, I wouldn't have been locked into this ecosystem of Cario for my practice management, my billing platform, and then we wouldn't have had to work with them to try to basically make the system work and get it done what it was supposed to get done. The next one that I'd like to talk about is lack of clear boundaries. This is a really big one. When I first started up, I was so desperate for new patients that I thought I'd spend an hour and a half with every single new patient, get the word out that I spend a ton of time with my patients and it would be a great service to them. Like any physician, I wanted to do my best for them. I wanted to provide the best care, and I thought that going that extra mile would be well appreciated. I also went so far that when a patient would call in, when I only had like 5 people on my schedule that first month, I would just pick up the phone and answer their question right away. Well, that was a big problem because these patients started expecting a concierge level of service, but I'm not a concierge physician. I take insurance, and sometimes insurance pays me extremely small amounts. So over time, my early adopters, these very first patients that came with me, they realized, hey, every visit can't be an hour and a half. And oh, when I call, I can't get my doctor on the phone in a matter of seconds to answer any question that I have. It snowballed all the way into some of these patients sending me these long 11-page Microsoft Word typed out documents saying, I don't want to visit. You've basically helped me out via text before. Please answer all these questions. I really should have had clear boundaries sooner. The next problem that I'd like to talk about is control issues. When I started up the practice, I wanted to be as lean as possible, want to control everything, ranging from the website to staffing issues to IT support and creating our own phone tree and you name it. If we had to order a flu shot, I wanted to be involved in which flu shot, down to how many we order and making sure that I was tracking shipment IDs and everything. It just got out of control. It's okay to care about the details. I mean, the devil is in the details when it comes to providing excellent customer or patient service. However, not giving up control and delegating that to individuals that I was hiring, I wasn't basically allowing those other individuals to thrive, do their job. I was basically still doing their job and then giving them some other menial tasks to do and wasn't allowing them to grow in their roles. So don't have the control issues like I did. Learn to delegate quickly. All right, this next one is, maybe it's just for me, but inferior complexes. So what I mean by that is when I started up the practice, I literally am walking distance from the second biggest primary care clinic in town. They're a wonderful clinic. There's nothing bad to say about them, but they're a machine. They really go through a lot of patients. Not only did I have their competition, but in a 5-mile radius, there were probably at least 5 other primary care clinics that were open in that area. And I really was wondering, my God, did I pick the worst area to open up in? How's this going to go? I was so worried over these details that I would call in, see what their phone tree was look like. I would basically go through and see, wow, their website looks way more professional than mine. How can I increase my appearance of my website to make it look more professional? I basically started having a little bit of imposter syndrome, a little bit of an inferior complex, saying, hey, these other clinics, they have more money, they're doing better than me, creating all these excuses in my mind of why they're better than my little old startup practice. I think the big part of that is just letting all that go and just doing the best job you can. And eventually, I think the proof is in the pudding. I ended up, we're 3 years in and we're somewhere between 10 and 15,000 patients that we currently care for in our practice. Not only do we have that many patients in our practice, but pretty much all of my competition, except for that second largest clinic, has either shut down or switched to concierge medicine. So all those competitors that were there basically evaporated. Point number 6, networking's important. Now, this one some people may roll their eyes at, but I wanted to just highlight 2 different types of networking. It's painfully obvious when someone wants to network and they're in the receiving only type of relationship mode. And what I mean by that is, we've all had this before. Someone calls you, they only want something. They don't give anything. They want your time, they want your money, they want your referrals, they want whatever. They want something from you and they're not giving you anything in return. That's the type of networking relationship you need to avoid. Some of the most important relationships that I've developed are the giving and receiving type of relationships. This is basically, hey, let me give you advice that's maybe totally unsolicited about what helped for my phone system or what helped for me in finding good quality employees here and not asking anything in return. It's not like every single conversation is driven completely by what can you do for me. The next thing I'd like to talk about is learning from others' best practices. Have you ever thought about when you go out to a restaurant, what the customer service is like, how you get the email from booking online, how seamless it is? I love it. I go to Google, look online, I can see on OpenTable or whichever thing they're using, if there's a reservation available, click it. I don't even have to call anymore. You need to implement all these best practices from other industries and think about how you can implement them in your own. For example, booking online is super important, which segues into the next topic, which is phones are definitely the enemy. We did our own internal metrics, and one of our staff members can do about 20 times the volume of messages in the same amount of time it takes to answer a phone. And what I mean by messages is that on our website, we have the ability for patients to simply just text us real quick. I'm sure you've seen it on those websites, a quick pop-up, how can we help you today? We really encourage and push people to not call us, but instead text us. Phones really are the enemy. They're really going to tie up your staff time. They're really going to tie up just everything from your business. It costs a lot of money to man those phones. So I would encourage you to think about other ways to have your clinic staffed to where you're not pushing people to just call you all the time. And I would learn from best practices from other industries on trying to get everyone online. The final topic I'd like to talk about is to just be cash rich, which is easier said than done. Now, what I don't mean by being cash rich is having millions of dollars in the bank and thinking, oh my gosh, I have so much money. What I mean by that is to have money set aside for rainy days, for if the pandemic gets worse, for expansion plans. You'll hear for personal finances that you need 3 months set aside for personal expenses. For our business, since we're growing, we had about 12 months of expenses sitting around, and we're just waiting to capitalize some of that by expanding into a new location. So there you have it. There's the things that I wish I would have known when I started the business. I hope you enjoyed today's post. I'll try to keep posting 1 per week. And I'll keep growing, making these videos a little bit more fun. If you have any feedback, let me know. Have a good day.